Welcome to the World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust. Welcome back to the World Awaits. Hi everyone, how are you going? How's your week been, Kirsty?
Amazing! I am bobbing around the Med on a Viking ocean ship between Athens and Venice, and when this goes to air, I would have done a few likes by now. Hopefully I can still walk in Montenegro and Croatia. So cannot wait to tell you all about that. And what about you, Belle?
Oh, look at you. Destination unknown. Kirsty is MIA, folks, because unless we go on to find my ship and actually pin you down, you could be anywhere. But that's a hot tip for you if you're ever looking for a cruise ship. Find my ship. It's a cute little app. Me, oh my goodness, I am on the come down, folks. I'm on the come down from the Maldives and it hurts. It really hurts. I don't have a beach outside my bedroom. I have to cook. I'm putting jumpers on. I'm doing laundry. I swear the hardest thing about holidays is the aftermath. I have crashed and I've crashed bad. However, I do not miss sitting on the plane. And to cheer myself up, I've actually been watching some of the footage of the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum where I was. So I'm going to give you a little rundown about that in a week or two's time, I reckon, because we've waited a decade for this museum. Let's see what's exciting.
Amazing. Absolutely. That's such a fascinating museum to hear about. And although I don't think you're going to need the jumpers when you get back because it's now getting very nice and warm in Melbourne. But
you never know. It's still sprinter.
It's not true. Yeah, Melbourne for what do they say? 4 seasons in one day. Well, kicking off this week, we are chatting about Visit Sweden's new global initiative to prescribe a stay in Sweden. I love this. So it's called the Swedish Prescription, and Sweden is the first country in the world to do this. And basically, Visit Sweden has teamed up with 4 medical experts in the US, the UK, Netherlands, and Germany, not Australia yet, to identify activities in nature that can boost your health. So, might need a little telehealth, someone.
Right, to get the doctor. So, because how it works is patients worldwide can now download a medical referral on visitsweden.com, and the document can be brought to their doctor and used to start a conversation about how a visit to Sweden could support the patient's well-being and serve as a basis for having a visit to Sweden prescribed.
How cool is that? Now we've evolved. So what you do is when you get to Sweden, Visit Sweden has actually, when you've actually got the doctor's prescription, it all goes ahead. Visit Sweden's put together with Swedish Senior Professor Yvonne Forsell a set of activities within 3 areas that patients can benefit from. So they're all around nature, lifestyle and culture. But do note, Visit Sweden does not cover any costs incurred with your prescription to Visit Sweden.
That's the whole point of it. Can't we get it on Medicare? Seriously.
What's going on?
Oh my goodness. According to the World Health Organization, studies have shown that increased exposure to nature can help reduce stress, improve your mood, enhance cognitive function, and lower the risk of chronic diseases. And Suzanne Anderson, who is the CEO at Visit Sweden, says the Swedish lifestyle naturally promotes well-being, from the free access to our stunning forests and lakes to the fresh air, cooler summers, wholesome fika breaks, and our vibrant cultural life. So together with Swedish Senior Professor Yvonne Forsell, they have identified activities proven by science to help you feel better. And we reckon you could do most of these anywhere. Although, look, I've got to admit, I do have family in Stockholm. So I'm all up for a doctor's prescription because when I go there, we literally go into the forest and we pick berries or mushrooms depending on the season. And I got to say, I'm having a bit of a flashback. Do you remember that Visit Iceland Outhorse your email campaign where it encouraged you to have a digital detox? And so you put this Icelandic horse answered your email. It was so, oh my goodness, it was so good.
And guess what? When you go to visit the family, you can say, but I've got a doctor's prescription, so I cannot do the stressful family things. I have to just only go into nature. Oh, yeah, I reckon if you can't get there, then yeah, definitely, like you said, you can do lots of these things around your own home. So, and around, where you live yourself. So we recommend that if you just take a bit of time to look at what's closer to home, they prescribe things like forest bathing, foraging, cycling, sky watching, and sleeping.
Sleep in. Yeah, I can do that at home. But there's also sauna and cold dips because bathing is so hot right now. Meeting up with friends and leaning toward a more balanced life. Or I don't know. Do you think would you do the bathing thing that they do in Sweden, Kirsty, where you jump into the sauna and then you jump into an ice cold lake?
No, I'm not doing the ice cold. I don't do cold. I don't like cold at all. I'll do the sauna, but not the cold.
But you need it because the saunas are so hot. I've done it. I've got to say it is exhilarating. So, yeah, what other things can you do?
And there's lots of places to go, hot springs and saunas and stuff around the peninsula, right? And that's your stomping ground, Belle. So, you know.
It's not the same as jumping into an ice, literally an icy lake where they cut. I did this in Stockholm a couple of years ago. They cut the ice away so you jump into it like a big chunk. If it's actually frozen enough, and it's at night, so you're just jumping into this pool of darkness. I've
got a feeling you can do that on the Viking ship, so maybe I would have checked that out by now. By the time we're in real time and I'm back, I can tell you about it. And one of the other things they say is lift your spirits. So this is another way to, help with your mental health and physical health. Lift your spirits by going and dancing at a festival or go to a museum. And that's always definitely a good way to improve your health, especially like you said, meeting up with some friends too. And if you want to do any of these things in Sweden or anywhere else, we will just put a link in the show notes to what the doctors prescribe, and you can take a look at their very specific examples. This week, I'm taking you to a private island off the coast of Cambodia called Songsa. If you want a transformational travel to boost not just your health, but your entire well-being by giving back to the local community, let me tell you, this is it. So this island was actually bought by Australian Melita Koulmandas for $15,000 and she transformed it from being knee-deep in rubbish to a luxury retreat with Cambodia's first protected marine park.
So beside its beauty, what made you want to go there, Kirsty? I mean, I want to go to a private island in Cambodia. Just please take me.
Yes. So I was beyond fascinated, I have to say, with Melita's achievements, and I really wanted to experience it firsthand. So, as you point out, it is also an exceptionally pretty island, but it's just, I'm fascinated with the whole philanthropy and conservation concepts around tourism. And so I visited and wrote about it for Carry On Luxury, and also I wrote a cover story for the New Zealand Herald, and we can put the links to both of those in the show notes.
Okay, so now I'm desperate to get to the private island in Cambodia. Whereabouts is it exactly?
So it's a tiny island in the Koh Rong archipelago, which is off the mainland of Cambodia. So to get there, you need to fly into a main city and then you go down to Sihanoukville, which is down the south, which is a 45-minute flight from Siem Reap. And then it's about a 45-minute speedboat from there. But can I tell you, oh my God, the journey is really all part of the experience. So when you get there, it's so worth it because actually the boat ride out is really lovely and it's in a little speedboat and it feels really quick. And when you get there, you see this like postcard worthy location and you would just do anything to be there. Seriously, you immediately feel like you've landed on your own private island, and you basically have, because there's only 24 villas and they're all sort of dotted around. Some are over water, which you can see as you're pulling into the pier, and others are all hidden in the jungle. So our villa, literally, we felt like movie stars when we got there. I mean, you walk along a wooden boardwalk to your villa, and it's basically like a standalone bungalow, the size of some small houses in Australia. And they're all built sustainably from local driftwood and salvaged wood and local stone. And that's kind of half the point of the story, right? So the whole design ethos was that they replicate a Cambodian village. And the door opened, our butler took us, and because your butler guides you, you have a dedicated butler from the minute you land on the island. And then he guides you to your villa, and then he opens the door, and there's this huge living room with a 12-seater dining table and a sunken lounge with a lounge suite that seats like 20, overlooking an infinity pool that looks out over the House Reef, and beyond that, the Koh Rong Island in the distance. And all you see is just ocean and blue, blue on blue on blue. And on either side of the room, of this humongous living area, are these bedroom wings with 4 poster beds, and they have their own living areas with a bathroom, and there's a deep stone bath with wraparound windows. So you can lie in the bath in this deep stone bath and just gaze out over the ocean, and it feels like you're just floating on the ocean. It is just remarkable. And it's all inclusive. So there's a fridge full of everything that you requested before you came. Champagne, anyone? No, I prefer a Sauvignon Blanc, whatever. And it's all sitting there for you in this fridge. And of course, you can order whatever you like to eat. And then each day, there's a little tiny scroll that's rolled up and attached to your door. And when you open the door, you have this teeny little scroll that you unroll and unfold, and it tells you where you're going to dine for that night. So one night it might be, there's a couple of different restaurants, or you can dine. One night we were just dining beside the beach, with our feet in the sand to a beautiful sunset, and we were literally the only ones there for like most of the night.
Oh gosh, that sounds absolutely incredible. So, I mean, how did this island, this island paradise, how did it come to pass? I mean, how did Melita change? How did she put a stamp on it?
So she had this, she originally didn't have a vision to build a resort. So her initial priority was all about just cleaning up this island. So she bought this island. She didn't really know what she was going to do with it. Her and her boyfriend at the time had been traveling around Cambodia. They literally came across this island. She'd seen this island in the distance, and she said to a fisherman, "Can you take me out there?" It took like hours to get out there back then. And she got taken out to the island, and it was just filled with rubbish, like literally like more than knee deep full of rubbish. And then he said, "Do you want to buy this island?" Because he wanted to move back to the mainland. And she said, "How much?" And he said, $15,000 US. And she said, fine. She went back to the mainland, got the cash out, brought it back in a brown paper bag, literally, went back and gave the cash. And then she got the locals from the Korong, the main island, the mainland, which you have to get a boat over. She basically engaged the community, and mainly the women, and they picked up all the rubbish. And she said it was only once she'd sort of built this really strong relationship with the community and also the chiefs, that she then decided that she would build Songsa. And the main reason for that was because she wanted to start the foundation. She wanted to, the only way to move forward to have a conservation and ongoing conservation efforts was to basically have this project. So she was always about regenerative tourism, and she had this support, like I said, from the local community. And within 18 months, all the fish stocks were replenished. So it was like a traffic jam of fishing boats just coming in and depleting the entire marine life in the area previously. So they had this agreement with the local chiefs where only so many local boats could be in the area, and they got the local chiefs on board and the government on board. And her efforts in collaboration with those local chiefs and authorities formed Cambodia's first protected marine park. Remarkable. So she just 7 years after she bought the island, the Songsa opened its doors, and the foundation was also formed a year later. And that was, like I said, purely to give back to the communities who supported her and to ensure that protection of that entire ecosystem around that island.
Unbelievable. It just sounds, I mean, what an incredible story. Absolutely incredible. So when you were on the island, back to you, when you were on the island, what did you actually do while you were there?
So because of this concept, everything you do when you're on the island is around the Songsa Foundation, which I just loved. So we took a boat over to the main island, to Korong, and you can go kayaking in the mangrove forest, which is just beautiful. I mean, I'm talking glassy waters, just spectacular. And these eco-friendly little guest houses are on the riverbank. So if you wanted to, you can go and stay on those little guest houses. And the local government is planting mangrove seedlings and releasing fish to try and enrich the ecosystem there too. And we also went over to Korong, the main sort of island, which is, so like Songsa is like a little island off this main island, which is off the coast of Cambodia. So we went with, there's a marine biologist and conservationist called India Thomas, who took us by long tail over to the local community on that island. And we wandered through the township, and you can sort of see the tiny wooden stilts, and The thing here I found really interesting was there was a lot of children running up to us, and you want to give them money. And she said to me, whatever you do, don't give them money, because if you give them money, it prevents them from going to school. And the whole point is, if you really want to help them as tourists, give the money to the foundation, because it is genuinely going back in to ensuring the education of these kids. So we learned, you can go over there when you stay in Songsa and you can meet all the locals and see this beautiful little community and see their school. So they've got a school over there and they teach the kids English. So we went up to the school and there was like about half a dozen kids up there and they're all, reciting English. And they love to meet you. So that was one of the things we did. Another thing we did was you can go, there's another teeny little island called Kobong, which is connected by another bridge to Songsa Island. And there's a naturalist and botanist who works on the island, and you can go with him and he'll take you over and talk about all the plants and trees that you're seeing. So the wild yams and the edible orchard tree, the banyan and rosewood trees. And he talks about, educates you, about the flora, all about the flora and fauna basically on the islands while you're there.
Oh, that sounds just incredible. So just tell me a bit more about what they're doing in regards to ongoing conservation efforts there.
So while we were there, you can, of course, also snorkel with the marine biologists and see the seagrass and the work they do to restore the coral. And while I was there, I actually sat down with marine biologist Sabrina Petry and had a bit of a chat with her specifically about this, because she was so passionate about it. So I'm going to hand over to her. So let's take a listen to see what she says about the work they're doing.
You have these structures on the reef which are integrated in the reef, but that's just a bedrock. So now what we do is we cover this bedrock with small fragments. And those fragments grow faster than they would if it would just be one coral colony. Because for corals, if you break them off, it's like having a cut on your skin. If you have a cut on your skin is really fast at healing and closing this cut. And it's the same for corals. They grow faster if they have this reputation. That's why there are now even studies doing microfragmentation on corals, like putting them into super small pieces, putting them on plugs, and then when they grow, putting them back onto.
Yeah, amazing.
And if we cover, like now our transplanting site is basically one big bedrock, and we start to cover it with all the fragments. And some of them are from the same coral colony. So even if we stock them in the same place, they start to encrust, grow over the bedrock and connect again.
Wow.
But even the ones who are not from the same colony, they grow faster because we did the fragmentation before.
And does that encourage new marine life, or just
attracts marine life straight away? It's what we can see once we put corals on a place like this, instantly there are more fish. It's the moment you put the there, even if it's not secured. That's actually sometimes with the parrotfish here, you have to make sure that you secure the piece straight away, because otherwise they pick on it and it falls down and gets lost. But there's instantly more marine life, more shelter. For there are crabs straight going into the corals, making it their shelter. So we have the Korong archipelago, which is a marine reserve.
Yeah.
But then the special thing about those two islands is that we have another protection zone, which is 200 meters around those two islands.
Yes.
Which we can also monitor way better, because we have security here on the island and they monitor. So if there are boats coming into those 200-meter zone, they get checked by the security. So I think the long-term goal is doing all the conservation projects we're doing. So monitoring the marine biodiversity on the reefs, which we do. And so we do surveys. We look for inverts, for fish, for the substrates, for the benthics. And doing that on the same sites every year gives us a good insight in how the populations of the different species are doing, and if biodiversity is increasing or if it's decreasing. And we also do seagrass surveys. So we try to monitor the overall health of the ecosystem and the biodiversity. what I like here is that we do the whole ecosystem. We not just do coral restoration. We also look after the biodiversity. We also look after the seagrass. And it's really important to have this whole approach because everything is connected. So we do everything. We do the coral restoration. We help the reef to recover. We assist because we're in the stage now where we need to assist natural reefs because they can recover to a certain point. And here we're lucky because we have the passive restoration with the marine reserve. But now we also start doing the active restoration with putting nurseries, with growing coral fragments in the nurseries and putting them back on the reef, which gives more structure. We're now also planning an artificial reef structure, which is just there to give structure, to put corals there, so then marine life can be attracted, can find shelter there, and then overall it will be taken over by nature anyway at some point.
How does it change your experience? It means that there's more places to dive. There's going to be more better diving into this.
The whole experience is different. You have there are more species to see.
Yeah.
You see a healthy ecosystem. So people here, they come here because they want to see the great nature. And the nature here, the coral reefs actually here, and I've dived in a lot of different places, but the reefs here have one of the highest biodiversity in corals I have seen. We have a lot of different coral species here on the reef. And coral reefs are hotspots of biodiversity. They attract a lot of marine life, even if they're just cover such a small amount of the whole ocean. They are the hotspots where all the marine life is attracted to. So if you wanna have a great experience as a traveler, you want to go in a place where you can see a lot of different stuff, where you can see an ecosystem in like how it would be naturally. And this is what we want to achieve. We want to have a healthy ecosystem with healthy nature where we have all those species for people to see and to have authentic experiences in like basically the encounters you would have with marine life here. Why I love doing this job, because you see your impact and it happens so fast. After a few weeks, you see what I'm doing is changing something, it's improving something, it's really fulfilling work to do. That's also something which we have the privilege of having this education, but we want to provide it to the community here. We want to give it to the locals here. And then if they have the education and they have everything, the tools, the knowledge on how to deal with everything, they will be able to do it by themselves. And we're just there to support and basically give them all this knowledge and tools, and then they can deal with it on their own. And it's also the focus on the community projects. We don't want to do something where we think it might be beneficial for them. We always check with them that it's actually something they need and which is beneficial for them.
I love how she talks about how they are always working in collaboration with what's best for the local community, not assuming that they know. So I think that's a really strong point about why this is so successful. And if you'd like to learn more, go to Songsa's website, which is Songsa, SONGSAA-privateisland.com.
You're listening to The World Awaits. Subscribe through our website at theworldawaits.au.
Our tip this week is about how a major airline is now charging customers for seats that recline. So which seat do you choose?
Oh, this story, unbelievable. So budget Canadian airline WestJet says that customers will no longer be able to recline seats on their aircraft unless they pay extra. I personally don't know what more that they can charge us for. I mean, Ryanair always says it's going to start charging for toilets. But this one, it actually seems like it's going to happen because ABC News reported that the budget airline confirmed that it is reconfiguring all 43 acquired aircraft that are currently all economy. They bought the aircraft from defunct airlines Swoop, Lynx, and Sunwing.
So the redesign will do away with the recline function on standard economy seats, which will now have a fixed recline. So obviously you can't go back. And it says the planes being refreshed account for less than a third of the narrow body fleet, inclusive of Boeing 737-8 MAX and 737-800 aircraft.
And the ABC quotes WestJet as saying, through our guest user testing, half indicated that they preferred a fixed recline to avoid feeling impacted by other passengers encroaching on their space. I mean, this is an absolute trigger, isn't it? You know, we have a conversation. In Australia, the received wisdom is if your flight's under 3 hours, you don't recline because that's just being rude.
So the tip here is if you prefer a recline option, choose seating in the extended comfort and premium cabins of reconfigured aircraft, which do have that feature. And according to WestJet, the seats in the back of the cabin, rows 20 to 31, have the least space, and there'll be slightly more space in the rows 15 to 19, and the seats in the front of economy will also have the most space within that cabin. So, what do you think, Val? I mean, obviously, as we already said, I'm with you. If you're on a economy flight, you just don't recline.
Yeah, look, there's two things in it. One of it, you know, it smacks of extra revenue raising, and as we know, airlines increasingly are not making money on the fares, but on all of the extras. You know, that's the absolute ice cream there. However, when you see some of the footage of people having biffo over, you know, shooting their seats back, which is, you know, when your cup of tea or your laptop end up in your lap, right, which is actually not where they're supposed to be. Maybe, you know, I mean, we've seen so much more air rage now. Maybe we just, you know, people just got to bite the bullet and suck it up.
I don't mind that they're having seats that don't recline. In fact, I quite like it for a commercial perspective, for an economy flight, because if I hopped on a flight and I'm on an economy flight and I know that the person in front of me can't recline, well, that's kind of a bit of an anxiety saver, right? It's like I know I can pull my laptop up safely knowing it's not going to crush my laptop or they're going to flip it back and have my cup of tea in my lap. So, yeah, I didn't have an issue with it.
Yeah, and if it stops the biffo in the aisles, I mean, it is absolutely horrific. So that can't be a bad thing, can it? Next week, let's go to Tassie. Specifically, let's go to the Central Highlands, which is one of the most beautiful and most remote parts of this absolutely divine state. So stay tuned. We'll go to Pump House Point and we will do a little walking as well in the wilds of central Tasmania.
And there might be wombats and snow.
There may be. Almost guaranteed, friends.
And we'd love it if you follow us on socials. You'll find us at The World Awaits Podcast on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. And feel free to drop us a line at hello@theworldawaits.au. And if you're enjoying this episode, please give us a rating or review.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.